These are sum and difference formulas, part 2. Recall that sum and difference are the Sinbad and Cosette formulas, the love story formulas. You'll see that you have all 4 formulas condensed into these 2. So on a lot of formula sheets, you'll see them written like this. But remember, when Sinbad's in charge of the date, he sits with Cosette, and sister sits with brother, and the signs are the same, so plus goes with plus, minus goes with minus. When Cosette's in charge of the date, she sits with her sister, puts Sinbad with his brother. And these signs are different, so plus goes with minus, and minus goes with plus. All right, these formulas, you won't be using the unit circle because they're not the special right triangle formulas. Some important things, the directions will have to tell you what quadrant to look in, or what quadrant to draw your triangle in. And these both say that they're both first quadrant angles. So that's why I drew my triangles, both in the first quadrant. And I do have 2 triangles because there is an A and a B. This is just alpha and beta. So I'm just going to put A and B because I can draw those better. Also remember that the sine formula is opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite over hypotenuse. So that's why I labeled my opposite side. There's my opposite side 12, and the hypotenuse is 13. And then if you look at angle B, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So here's angle B, and the adjacent side is 3, and the hypotenuse is 5. So let's see what we have and see what we need. Let's write the formula for Cosette with subtraction. Cosette likes to sit with her sister, put Sinbad with brother. There's your formula. Remember, Cosette says signs are different, so minus, we go with plus. Okay, so let's see what we have and what we need. Do we have cosine A? No, we have sine A and cosine B. So we're going to have to find that. Do we have cosine B? We sure do. Cosine B is 3/5. So let's go ahead and write that one in there. And then we also had the sine A is 12/13. So how do we find a missing side? Because, for this one, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse for angle A. Here's angle A, missing adjacent. How do we find that? Right, it's the Pythagorean theorem. So if you plug in your numbers for a squared, b squared, c squared, you're missing one of the legs. The other leg is 12, and the hypotenuse is 13. 12 times 12 is 144. And 13 times 13 is 169. Do we add those two or subtract? Got to subtract. When we subtract, we get 25. Is that the length of the leg there? Of course not, because a leg's got to be shorter than 13, so we have to square root. And there we go. The missing leg, square root of 25, is 5. So now, if cosine of A, here's angle A, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so then that value is 5/13. Pause the video and you try to find the missing part for sine B. And there we have it. You get the missing side is 4, so label your triangle 4, and let's find sine of B. Here's angle B. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so that value will be 4/5. Now follow the order of operations. You have to multiply before you do the adding, and multiply straight across, top and bottom. So multiplying straight across the top and the bottom, both sides, we have those. And when you add, you have to have like denominator. Conveniently we do, keep the bottom the same. And there's your final answer. 15 plus 48, 63/65. Your turn. Pause the video and finish this one on your own. And I have already drawn your triangles, labeled your cosine adjacent hypotenuse, that's those two sides for angle A, and tangent opposite adjacent for angle B. There's your opposite, there's your adjacent. You have to find what cosine A plus B is. Okay, let's look at this one. What quadrant is this? I haven't drawn it for you. Well, first, this tells you what quadrant angle X is in. If you recall, pi halves is the same as 90 degrees. So if angle X is between 0 and 90, X is between those two, what quadrant is that? And then this part tells you where angle Y is. So angle Y is also between 0 and 90 degrees. So if you're given sine X, just like a sine A, if you want to call it that, what two sides of that triangle are you given? Because you'll have to draw your own triangle, wherever it goes, and label those two sides. And then for the other triangle, you're given the sine, you're given those two sides. So draw that one and finish this one on your own. Okay, you're doing this one on your own too. Here's a little hint. This part is telling you where to draw the angles, what quadrant they go in. Of course, you always have your given, so you've got two sides of the A triangle, two sides of the B triangle. And I want you to find the exact value of sine A plus B.